Asteroids in Kotlin. This is Elijah. And as you can see, here's a full-on project, Asteroids in Kotlin, that I have made. Here's all the source code, lots of assets and kind of layouts and pictures and sounds that I have saved. But all of my classes are right here. I'm going to be focusing on this as well as this, the activity Kotlin Asteroids XML that I have created. Very basic. All it has is one surface view, one surface view attribute or one surface view object that I have defined here in XML. Kind of handles it automatically, inserts it into the apps layout, and basically documented information, as well as 4 buttons that, as you can see, they have a lot of information, the spacing and coloring. They're pretty unified that way, just on the left and right. 2 buttons on the left, bottom left, and 2 buttons on the bottom right. Ship rotate left, ship rotate right, ship accelerate, ship fire laser, right? And they say specific text, thrust, rotate left, fire laser, rotate right, right? And so I demonstrated what those do in my last video. If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out real quick. It only takes 2 minutes. It's a very short video. But here I have defined some functionality here in this section right here. Set up button event listeners. All it does is basically find the button, by ID that I have all defined right there. I defined the ID back in the XML. You remember that. Then it says set on-click listener toast.make text. All that stuff. All it does is display this text on the screen for a very short amount of time. Same thing for ship fire laser button, ship rotate left button, and ship rotate right button. Very simple. And I will go through the code real quick. I will go through this. I will go through the game, and I will go through one of the objects, 2 of the objects actually, what it's inheriting and what it is implemented as. All this is really doing is setting the screen dimensions. That's populated right here. Then this is kind of a very just like you memorize this code. This is the Oncreate. This is basically the whole constructor function for the entire application, right? Or the syntax activity that is. Then you gotta set the content view to this specific layout, which defines like I said, these buttons and the surface view or game. So this surface view or game is defined here. The class's definition is right here. Again, I just kind of pull the screen dimensions for readability, and I use this in a different class. Get random point on screen, get center point. Pretty basic. These are used for the rocks and the stars, and this is used for the ship. I want to start in the center of the screen. Debug equals false. I do a lot of print statements that I say if debug, then print line. More things. Okay, here's the important part. Having the ship, a list of asteroids, and a list of stars defined. And then they're kind of populated here, or the ship, or the asteroid and the stars. Ship is already kind of defined, populated, instantiated, that is. This is where the start kind of, this is where everything is started in this runnable, right? Basically, you want to have this function called run, but it needs to be called, and you have to kind of say run this program, So onLayout is the thing that is called on the initialization as well as init, but onLayout is where you can kind of get where, all the dimensions are. This is where it really starts, in this init, technically it's like none of the dimensions are really populated, but onLayout, the dimensions are populated. The next thing say thread.start, and this function is called. Very basic game loop. While true, update, and thread.sleep, right? You can set it to 60 FPS. It's very basic. And update, all it does is call draw, as well as the update methods for each class or each object, as well as render and draw. You have to kind of some comments showing what this even is for my sake. Here is draw. All the drawing is being taken care of here. I'm not really making each object take care of each part. I'm sure I can. I just, I only had 2 weeks to do this. So this is kind of as far as I got. What I'm drawing are bitmaps. They're not really image views or anything. They are actually maps of bits, arrays of bits that have color information. It's kind of the thing that was most like demonstrated in tutorials when I looked up how to draw some stuff in Kotlin. In my app using Kotlin. So drawing a bitmap, I load in each of the objects, I loaded one of these resources, one of these drawables, into a bitmap, resize the bitmap, and here I'm drawing that bitmap, at the specific point that it has, and then paint, Same thing for ship as well as asteroids. Handling events, obviously, there's more to go here. That I have these button listeners here, and all I can do is say handle, change some booleans that I can define here, some static booleans. Actually, if they're static, they should be defined in this companion object where they are more accessible to other classes in the package that I've defined. Everything that has this package com.example.asteroids Kotlin has access to that. And that's pretty much it for game. Before I was kind of, so basically what this is when the app is open and closed, it calls these. Before I was using some example code. So this is all there, and it relies on these functions right here, which I believe they are with the Android app opening and closing, multitasking and stuff. I believe that those are very important. But I haven't really implemented them. I was implementing them before, but not really anymore. Onto flying object and ship, and I think I'll call it good. No flying object, basically every class that inherits flying object for right now is just ship and asteroid. They have all of these components. They inherit this class, right? Make this an abstract class, and what it is defines a name, defines a point. For the ship's sake, my current design right now is just have two booleans, rotate right, rotate left. If both are true, then it just doesn't do anything. And it's handled down here. Anyway, I'm just going to fly through this definition. All the code will be down in the description below on the GitHub link. So just go to that GitHub. You can see all the code showcased, and yeah. Velocity, it's not really going to be a point class. I did initialize it I did begin this coding defining it as a point class, but I think I don't know why that's there. And yeah, going through this video is actually helping me a lot. This velocity, I just defined a quick thing down here. I wanted to use floats instead of ints, and point only worked with ints, and it's more point. The location on the screen should be an object of two ints and their respective methods, but I kind of wanted to use something more basic and more fluid, so I redefined it as floats, and I made a quick function called translate that does this basic thing pretty easily. Yeah, I'm gonna fly through the rest of this. Radius, angle, rotation, depth timer. Don't really use this, but I will use it for it's more of like a rotation offset, kind of for the rocks. I want them to have a specific direction. I guess they do have a kind of a direction. I never use this. Actually, that is unnecessary. Yeah, radius, rotation, and depth timer for the lasers. Some booleans for, objects being alive, that we can kind of remove them when they are set to false. None of that logic is in there right now, but it is set up for me to make more progress on the app whenever I have time to do so. Public methods, yeah, update. All it does is debug, translate, wrap edges, handle depth timer, handle rotation. It's pretty basic. There's also a public function accelerate, a method accelerate, so that it just increases the velocity by a specific amount in a specific direction, right? Pretty basic. Launch, all it is accelerate a certain amount, and I kind of use it for more readability. I call launch in a constructor, and I call accelerate in an update function. They're the same thing. But I just kind of say, I don't really want them to accelerate one frame. I want them to launch one frame, right? So there's that. Wrap, Protected versus screen again, screen dimensions. I just get the screen dimensions and kind of have it as a private variable, as a private object. And wrap, all it does is go from right to left to right, bottom to top, and top to bottom. Like I said, I'm actually kind of fixing a lot of things, design-wise, as I go along with this video. As well as rotate. This is, yeah, all it does is just add rotation by a specific amount. It's kind of more of, it's kind of just, I think I use it right around here. I do think I want to fix this. It's a bit messy. I will keep this. Whoa. I will keep this. Probably that. But I do think maybe I can make that a little better in the future when I'm doing more of the handle input stuff. I did overload a method called translate in point, just for readability. I didn't want to have to say point.add or anything. There was no really adder. So I just like saying point.translate, so I just like having this. And it's very basic. So yeah, oh yeah, that's why I used it. It's because velocity, it was floats. So all I have to do is, velocity.dx, velocity.dy, point, in the parameter of point.translate. So I believe I did include that right around here. Yeah, point.translate. Yeah, very basic. And that's just kind of negative because down is up when you're working with Java. And that is the case with mobile app development. And that's pretty much it. I can show you ship. Initializes some of the flying object stuff. I did add more than one bitmap, so when I do that, I call it array list of bitmap type frames, and then I just do frames.add, create bitmap, kind of handle it, resize each of the bitmaps, short form. I know that you can do 4 frame in frames, but I kind of wanted, I just kind of wanted to hard code this instead of figuring out why it wasn't working before. So get frame, all it does is kind of, for the ship specifically, rotation, based on the rotation, yeah, I just get the specific frame that you want. And yeah, create bitmap, resize bitmap. It's pretty basic, This create bitmap, I do copy and paste these in pretty much all of my moving objects and stuff, because bitmap factory dot decode resource context resources and then drawable. Which drawable I'm defining right there. It's more for readability for me, so very basic. Same thing in Asteroids. It's even more basic than the first part. I do want to set wrap to true for all of the objects, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Star, also very similar to ship. It just doesn't inherit flying objects. Very basic. This code, I will put a git ignore until I implement it. This is actually not my code. I did use the basic framework of an application because I knew nothing about application 2 weeks ago. And yeah, so there is I will reference the person that I reference all of this code from. I will put the link to their GitHub repository down in the description as well, because they are really responsible for how far I got. That and help from kind of other people, many tutorials. All the links will be in a README in the GitHub that I put. I will also put the GitHub for the person that I referenced because that was, I will put that in the description. The rest will be on my GitHub README. So just go to my GitHub and it'll be, kind of scroll down, you'll see the README. And I believe that's it. I wanted to talk a little bit more on the projects. What can we call it? Yeah, for my class, I did this for a project. Specifically, I did it for myself mostly, but I also did it for a project. I did demonstrate variables. I did a lot of vars and vals, as you can see here. So mutable and immutable are there. Expressions, conditionals, loops, functions, classes. Those are all right. I have this Kotlin README template. I will go over that in a second. Stretch challenges, obviously, I did use collections. I did some, where was that? Okay. yeah, I did lots of for both the frames and also the array list of asteroids and stars. You know, those are collections, and I believe that just a simple stack would suffice for everything, basically. Let me know in the description if I should have used a different type of collection for one of these things. Data classes, yes, plenty of data classes, companion objects, you know. Other places, yeah, I've used data classes, and as well as, you know, I've done the stretch challenges. I also used the when keyword a few times. Hold on, let me search for that. There's somewhere that I used the when statement. I might have implemented it and then deleted it. I did use the when statement in this program, but I believe it was right here. I kind of thought the for loop with an if statement, kind of combined with an if statement, and then returning like a specific thing that would be more efficient. Maybe a when statement is more efficient. I just think it basically you hard code a lot more with a when statement. So there's that. But I did use a when statement in here. I'm sure there's somewhere else. I just don't remember. But that just suffices for the stretch challenges. I also did satisfy some stretch challenge, or not stretch challenges here yet. I did satisfy some of the mobile app requirements because this is a separate project. Yeah, I have at least one screen. I did have one screen. I technically have another activity defined here. Not just activity Kotlin Asteroids, but as well as activity main. I never really did much with it, but I can make a main home screen, like a home screen for the app itself. Interact with the user, yep, I have that done. Integrated component like the camera, I didn't do that. Incorporate two or more screens, I technically did, but I didn't really incorporate the main screen yet, but it's there. As well as store data in local storage to persist even when the app closes or his phone is turned off. Technically the on pause and on resume handle that, but I don't believe that it saves specific information. It's a pretty lightweight program for now. So none of these stretch challenges are done, but the actual module is technically complete with what I did with my other module right there. And last part, cat. So I demonstrated what the project is, what it's for. It's a game. I kind of wanted to learn how to code in using Kotlin in Android Studio. I know how to code with Java, so I can kind of use what I know in Kotlin to implement anything I need to know in Java, but technically Kotlin is more official nowadays. I made a lengthy YouTube video demonstration. Part one was a very simple, and then part one was a very simple demonstration of the application, and part two was a very lengthy demonstration of the code. So it's almost done. I used, like I said, Android Studio, kind of inheriting the IntelliJ IDE. It's very nice. I learned a lot about Kotlin, which is the programming language that I used, and any libraries, just the basic Android libraries. You can see them all. They kind of were imported as necessary. Yeah, Android and Kotlin were the libraries that I was referencing. And yeah, I learned a lot about Kotlin, a lot of the difference, like the more succinct notation that they use, but it's still very explicit and still very nice to use, and I really like that. So I learned a lot about Kotlin. I like that. Many useful websites. They will be in, like I said, the README for the GitHub. There will be like a whole entire like page worth of links that will go right there. And future work, obviously, there are lots of things I need to implement. Hopefully this will open. Yeah, anyway, it's probably fine. Let's take away that. Yeah, I will implement the user interaction. I will make more custom assets. I used, like I said in the first video, I used assets that I found online, but I'll make my own assets. I also put a link to the description in that one YouTube video for all the assets, as well as in the useful links section of my README on my GitHub. And yeah, there's still plenty more to do as far as game logic, making the game functional, making a main menu screen and different game states for the game. Yeah, all of that. I believe I'll do some game states instead of different activities for different like pause menus and stuff. I'll just do an overlay and kind of pause the game logic or whatever, because it's better than loading in a different activity. Other than that, I think that's it. Let me know if I missed anything. If you have any questions or anything, contact me or just put a comment in the description. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, that was Kotlin Asteroids, the code description, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you watched until this point because it's been a while. But goodbye, guys. Thank you for watching.